Hi, my name is Annemarie. I'm a researcher and teacher specialized in interdisciplinarity. In that capacity, I started teaching a new interdisciplinary course in 2019. Master students from very diverse backgrounds participated in the course and formed teams. For instance, students from sociology, economy, medicine, literature, mathematics, and religion studies collaborated with each other. As their teacher, I was all armored up and prepared to manage conflict. Because with such diverse backgrounds, they were bound to clash, right? But actually, we saw surprisingly little conflict among the students in our course. They were very polite, they were very kind, and the collaboration seemed very smooth. Seemed, because we had also had the impression that something else was going on. This feeling of surprise and puzzlement inspired us to further look into the behavior of the students in our cross-disciplinary teams. In this video, I will summarize the findings from the research that came out of that. I will start by describing 4 behaviors that we observed among students. Then I will explain what this means for practice and how this can help manage interdisciplinary teamwork. And I'll end with a few questions intended to spark reflection about behavior in teamwork that you yourself are involved in. Then back to our course. We saw that in general our students were motivated and positive about interdisciplinary teamwork. After all, they signed up for the course themselves. When asked why they wanted to engage in interdisciplinary teamwork, they often answered that they were convinced that by combining their knowledge about different topics, they could make a more meaningful contribution to societal questions. That is a noble ambition, but there seemed to be a problematic assumption underlying their motivation and optimism. By stressing their different knowledge about different topics, they seemed to overlook some of the main challenges of interdisciplinarity. Because disciplines do not only hold different knowledge about different topics, they also come from different traditions. They use different methods, they have different ideas and assumptions about how research should be done. For instance, someone with a medical background may think that a study with only 20 respondents lacks generalizability, which they consider an important criterion for quality. A sociologist, on the other hand, may find it appropriate to conduct in-depth interviews with 20 respondents. It will allow them to gain detailed insight into the lived experiences of their participants. In their turn, to the sociologist, the percentages in a medical study may seem to not do justice to the personal stories of people, something that they find important. In other words, they may not find each other's research good. So these are very different research approaches that are rooted in deep beliefs. And even seemingly small differences in practices may differ across fields. For instance, how long are articles? How are articles structured? How many authors collaborate on one article? And do you write in passive voice or actively refer to yourself as we or even as I? In a sense, you could say that disciplines are almost like cultures, which have different languages, practices, and often unwritten or even implicit rules. Interdisciplinarity is therefore not like putting the pieces of a puzzle or the pieces of knowledge together and ending up with a sensible and comprehensive end result. Rather, it is like communicating across cultures, which inevitably comes with misunderstandings and frustrations. This means that if you want to really collaborate across diverse disciplines and create insights together, you will need to talk about these underlying things, such as values and assumptions. This requires acknowledging that interdisciplinary teamwork is not like a puzzle. Rather, it's more of a joint, messy exploration without a predefined result. That brings me back to the surprise that I described in the beginning of this video. Coming from this view of disciplines as cultures, we had expected that collaboration among students from different fields would cause frustrations and tensions. But we saw that many students did not even get to the point of engaging with each other's disciplinary cultures. Instead, they tried to bring their knowledge together without addressing the underlying assumptions. They avoided conflicts and were very topic-oriented, rather than engaging with concepts and their meaning more deeply. Students seem to assume agreement and understanding rather than building it. This behavior is what we call naive behavior, because these students were optimistic to the point that it was not realistic. They underestimated the challenges of interdisciplinary teamwork, and their seemingly smooth collaboration remained shallow. Besides the naive behavior, we saw 3 other typical behaviors that I will now describe. One other behavior that we saw among the students is what we call assertive behavior. Contrary to what we just saw for the naive behavior, students who behaved assertively actually did get into conflicts. They held strong opinions and often held on to these, also when they were not shared by their teammates. They were not likely to change their views based on what others said, and as a consequence, they were often dominant voices in the teamwork and could be experienced to act superior over others or other fields. A third behavior that we observed is what we call accommodating behavior. Students with accommodating behavior were less dominant. Instead of bringing and possibly pushing their own ideas, they asked a lot of questions. They were likely to adopt ideas from others, while their own ideas and views remained underrepresented in the group work. And the fourth and last behavior that we observed is what we call integrative behavior. Students with integrative behavior engaged in an interactive conversation, asking questions and sharing views. They actively tried to connect views and insights from themselves and others. If we look at these behaviors, we see that interdisciplinarity is a give and take of knowledge. In integrative behavior, collaborators give and take. In assertive behavior, collaborators only give but don't take, while in accommodating behavior, collaborators only take but don't give. And with naive behavior, giving and taking are both very limited. When there is an interactive process of giving and taking, collaborators can connect insights and knowledge and come to new understanding. When collaborators only give, only take, or even hardly do either, this will be hard. It will even prevent teams from creating new interdisciplinary insights. Instead, they will only present the views of the assertive team members, they may get into conflict, or the collaborative work may remain shallow. This prevents collaborators from realizing the potential of interdisciplinary teamwork, a deeper and more comprehensive understanding of complex issues. Being aware of these behaviors in the team that you participate in or that you supervise may help you improve interdisciplinary teamwork. Because when you start to recognize behavioral patterns that prevent collaboration or integration, you can also try to make a change. Contributing your own knowledge to teamwork requires that you are knowledgeable and that you feel confident to share your knowledge. Building knowledge or confidence may thus help when there is a lack of giving knowledge in a team or a team member. Engaging with others' knowledge requires curiosity to ask questions, and openness and humility to accept others' knowledge rather than dismissing any views that are different from your own. Developing these competencies may thus support interdisciplinary teamwork when there is a lack of taking. Now that you've heard about these behaviors, let's think about how this applies to you. What kind of behavior do you exhibit or see in a team that you're involved in? How does this behavior affect the collaboration? And what behavioral change could you make to further improve this?